I was not prepared, could you tell? Hello. Shalom. Chag Sameach, even. Uh, I have a cold. And you can't see the Hannukah. There, you can see the Hannukah. And it's lit for the seventh night. Um, I have been sleeping a lot today. And my mom made me chicken soup with ginger in it. And I kind of sort of have to sit here while the candles burn because if I go to bed, although it is kind of early to go to bed, I might go to bed early. Yes, I'm coughing. I had been coughing for a while, and I thought nothing was going to come of it. But then, by the time I was going to bed last night, my nose was running and stuff, and now I have a much more productive cough. Is anybody watching? People are actually doing things with their lives on a Saturday night. Adam! Hot beverage and watch till I fall asleep. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Of course, people are partying. It's a Saturday night. And it's the Saturday night of the seventh night of Hannukah. And we are getting close to Christmas and New Year's. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 and all of that. I should probably make myself some tea and put some honey in it. And Yosef had his conversation with Christian Baxter. That'll be interesting. Adam, you might want to place yourself in a situation where your mom understands not to worry so much about you. Assuming there isn't that much to worry about. I mean, I don't actually know you, so, but I am presuming you're adult. I am going to make some tea. You guys can watch the candles. Can you see the candles? Yes, you can see the candles. It's not because of me. Night is dangerous. Unless you're a bachelor living alone, you don't take chances leaving too late. Well, I have never actually been to the country in which you live, so I can't say too much about it. Especially not without doxing you. Yon God, long time no see. Okay, so he is correct, apparently, according to the U.S. Department of State. I am looking at the travel information for his country. You can't go. You're not allowed. And it says you should be careful at night because crime is a serious concern. And apparently, you shouldn't be using taxis because taxi drivers apparently are particularly bad for travelers. When you get to be full size, you're not going to be able to sit in my lap anymore. You're going to be too big. He is. He's savage. Beast. Tell the story of Hannukah. The story of Hannukah. Well, I can tell the official story of Hannukah from Al Hanisim. Let's do that. Let's go to Safaria. And I will show you guys even how to find Al Hanisim. So, during Hanukkah in the liturgy, we add Al Hanisim. There are two versions of Al Hanisim. One, which is said during Purim, and the other is said during Hanukkah. And it is said in Birkat Hamazon, which is the grace after meals, and it is also said in the Amidah, which is the main prayer services. So here we are going to go to Amidah, and it is said, come on, source with translation. It is said in Modim, which is the 18th of 19th prayer. The third to the last prayer is Retzeh. And then, which is where you say Ya'aleh ve'ya'avo, which is this prayer. And then in Modim, is it when? I am going to show my ignorance, but when was Rosh Chodesh? Rosh Chodesh is on the 5th day, is it? Of Hanukkah? Yeah. So you say Ya'aleh ve'ya'avo and Al Hanisim on the 5th day of Hanukkah. Where were we? I was before I so rudely interrupted myself. No. Ah. Okay. So we look at the month. Yes, I am not actually looking at that thing. So Rosh Chodesh Hannukah. No, it is tonight. Huh. For some reason. Oh, I guess it's on the 6th and 7th night. But so today you say Ya'aleh V'Yavo and Al Hanisim, but we won't spend too much time on Ya'aleh V'Yavo. And here we are in the bracha of Modim. That's Modim Derabanan. And here is Al Hanisim. Al Hanisim Al Hapurkan. Who's saying stuff? He wasn't able to sit on your lap. He was made to do so. He likes sleeping. He likes sitting in my lap. Do you dislike sitting in my lap? Hey, Andrew. Hannukah Sameach. Hey, RJ. I mean, that's not RJ. RJ, Office of Secular Secularism. I just noticed that. For a second there, I thought you might be Claire. That's hilarious. Okay. Al Hanisim. Upon the miracles. The Al Hapurkan. And upon the remembrance. The Al Hagevurot, and upon the powers. The Al Hateshuot, and the salvations. The Al Haniflaot, and the wonders. The Al Hanehamot, and on the consolations. Asita lavotenu, which you did to our fathers. Biyamim hahem bazman hazeh, in their days at this time. And on Hannukah we say, Biyamei Matityah ben Yohanan Kohen Gadol. And if you're a Christian, you may have noticed that there's a lot of Johns and a lot of Matthews in the early church. And part of the reason for that, and lots of Marys, but that's another story, but it's the same story, but so during the time of Matthew, son of John, Kohen Gadol, the high priest, Hashmonai, the Hasmonean, Ubanav, and his sons, Kisha'amdu Malchut Yavan Harash'a, and when stood up the kingdom of Greece, the evildoer, this is talking about the Seleucid Greeks, Al Amecha Israel, against your people Israel, L'shacham Toratach, to make them forget your Torah. And yes, in the Sephardic liturgy, this refers to God in the feminine. Ulahaviram mechukei ritzonach, and to make them transgress the statutes of your will. Ve'ata berachamecha harabim, and you in your great mercy. Amadata lahem be'et tzaratam, you stood for them during the time of their affliction. Ravta et rivam, you fought their battles. Danta et dinam, you judged their cases. Nakamta et nikmatam, you avenged their vengeance. Masarta giborim beyad halashim, you gave the the strong into the hands of the weak, Verabim biyad ma'atim, and the many into the hands of the few, Urasha'im biyad tzadikim, and the evildoers into the hands of the righteous, Utme'im biyad tahorim, and the impure into the hands of the pure, V'zeidim biyad oske toratecha, and those who sin intentionally into the hands of those who busy themselves with your Torah. We're back into the masculine now. Lecha asita shem gadol v'kadosh be'olamach. You made for yourself a great and holy name in your world. Back to the feminine for that. One word. Ula'amcha Israel asita teshua gedola upurkan kahayom hazeh. And to your people Israel, you made a salvation, great salvation, and a remembrance, like and this. So this Purkan is different from Zikaron. Zikaron is usually what people know as remembrance, but this Purkan, if I'm remembering correctly, is to remember to take care of someone. I'm pretty sure. I believe it's an Aramaic word here. Let's see if we can get a. Where were we? Purkan. Let's see if we can get a good translation and explanation. It's looking up words. Come on. No. Let's see if we can get it to look up this word. Purkan. There we go. There we go. Purkan. Redemption, salvation, from Aramaic. Purkana. Syriac. Purkana. From prok. See, prok. For the ending. Here, let us see prok in Klein's dictionary. To break off, to tear away, to unload, to deliver. Okay, I had the word wrong. He tore away. Interesting. Okay. You know what? I was thinking of Pakdon, not Parkan. I am bad at this. Sorry, my friends. Okay, where were we? Upurkan kahayom hazeh, and a breaking off, like today. V'achar kach ba'u vanecha lidvir beitecha, and afterwards your sons came into the court of your house. Ufinu et hechalecha, and they emptied out your chambers. V'tiharu et mikdashecha, and they purified your holy places, your holy place, your temple. V'hidliku nerot bechatzarot kodshecha, and they lit candles or lights in those were oil lamps actually, in the courts. Again, chatzar is a garden, kind of, your holy courts, V'kav'u shmonat yemei Hannukah elu behalel uvhoda'ah, and they set these 8 days of Hannukah, meaning dedication, for Hallel, praise, uvhoda'ah, and to be in gratitude. Va'asita imahem nisim v'niflaot, and you did with them miracles and wonders. V'nodeh l'shemcha, and we shall thank your name, Hagadol, great name, Selah. So it doesn't have a translation. And this is Al Hanisim for Purim during the days of Mordechai and Esther in the capital city of Shushan. But we won't go there. Okay. Let's see what people have been saying. It is a cool name. It's hilarious. More like Alexander the Not So Great and the Seleucid, the jerks. Am I right? Yes, you are right. Hello, Olson Helper. How are you doing? I should probably give you a wrench. How do you feel about getting a wrench? Stop. I am giving the man a wrench. Especially since he's got a dog in his profile pic. That's a cute dog. Chocolate lab? Jacob, what's the deal with 8 days specifically for dedication? Seems to suggest 7+1. Interesting, the context of John Walton's work on Genesis. I have no idea what John Walton said about Genesis, but yeah, the person without a wrench really stands out around here. That's kind of the point. If you're a regular, I want you to have a wrench. Half lab, half Great Dane. Must be a big puppy. I like big puppies. Can you tell? Can you tell I like big puppies? Hmm? Hmm? Um, where were we? I think the 8 days of Hanukkah are, well, first of all, I think when Solomon dedicated the temple, it was 8 days, if I am not incorrect about that. But also goes with the 8 days of Sukkot plus Shemini Atzeret. It means you can moderate the conversation, mute people, etc. Yes, but only people who don't have a wrench. So when somebody new shows up, you can make their life difficult. Well, I would like people to actually, I mean, when somebody new shows up and does stupid things, I like it when people. It's hot, puppy. You're not gonna like it. Big for a lab, small for a Great Dane. He is great with my hyper energetic son who likes to grab his face and give him kisses. Like that. It's great to be a white knight. Okay, are you done? Do you want to go? You can go if you want to go. It's up to you. No? White knighting is an internet term which makes fun of people who see themselves as a white knight in shining armor coming to help others in need of their help, especially women. It's good to be a hero. I am in favor of heroes being heroes. For anybody in the Los Angeles area, the guys are going hiking after church tomorrow. Lucky and I would be coming, but I don't want to get people sick. What is my opinion of Judah Maccabee? Who am I to have an opinion of Judah Maccabee? What I can say is, I do wish that they had not decided to combine king and priest, because we see what a disaster it was to try to combine king and priest. And to this day, we see what a disaster it is when Christians try to combine king and priest. So that would have been nice. But otherwise, he seems like a much better guy than I ever was. Where was I? I had a. Is this? No, that's not good. That's not good either. That. What happened to the thing I had? Oh, there it is. Ah! There it is. Let me see if I can move this up. Do we ever use this? I don't think we ever do. I don't think we ever use that one. Okay. There we go. There's always been an odd tension for the fact that Exilarch's family would have still existed, but it's all water under the bridge now. Well, the Exilarch's family was in Babylon and under house arrest, and the kept courts of a foreign power. So I can understand the Hasmoneans not being too delighted with the idea that they were somehow supposed to share power with the Exilarch's family. The real question is, why didn't Darius allow the Exilarch's family to go back with Ezra, I guess? I'm not really a big, huge knower of history. Here, let's ask Grok. Grok. Okay, puppy. You're gonna have to leave. Go. Go find somebody to play with who's not me. Okay, what was I doing? Saying, let us assume that the traditional Orthodox Jewish understanding of history is correct. That the Bible's statements as interpreted by Orthodox rabbis and the Jewish tradition, is factual. Does this statement work in that frame? When was it Cyrus or Darius? It was Cyrus. When Cyrus allowed Ezra to go back to build the temple, what happened to the captured family of the Davidic king, which would later be constitute the office of exilic? Oh, I have a timeline mix-up. Cyrus enabled initial return under Zerubbabel, not Ezra, who arrived later under Artaxerxes. Sorry, noting Zerubbabel Jehoiakin's grandson returned in first wave, while exilarch line stayed in Babylon. Clarifying family branched. Some, like Zerubbabel, returned. Others remained in Babylon to form exilarch office. Okay, this is what Grok has to say. Let's make Grok bigger. Okay. And let's share this tab. And let's people see. Is there anything that said they couldn't? I thought they stayed behind by choice, given the center of culture was in Pumbedita at the time. Sounds right to me. I am not the great historian that Yosef is. By the way, Yosef's discussion with Christian Baxter apparently gets out on Monday. Okay, the traditional Orthodox Jewish understanding rooted in Tanakh and elaborated in Talmudic and Midrashic sources like Seder Olam Zuta traces the Davidic royal line through the Babylonian exiles as follows. The captured family refers primarily to the descendants of King Jeconiah. I don't even know what the Hebrew of that is. Also called Yehoiachin, or Coniah. The penultimate Davidic king of Judah. He surrendered to Nebuchadnezzar and was exiled to Babylon in 597 BCE, about 11 years before the first temple's destruction in 586 BCE, along with many elites, artisans, and the Sanhedrin. Initially imprisoned, Jeconiah was later released and honored by Babylonian king Evil-Merodach. I have no idea who this person is. Allowing him to father children and preserve the unbroken Davidic lineage. This is seen as a divine act to sustain hope among the exiles that the house of David had not been utterly destroyed. Under Cyrus the Great's decree around 538 BCE, which permitted Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple, a branch of the Davidic family did participate in the return. Specifically, Zerubbabel, Jeconiah's grandson, son of Shealtiel, led the first major wave of returnees as governor of Judah, Yahud, the Persian province encompassing Jerusalem. Alongside Joshua the high priest, Zerubbabel oversaw the temple's reconstruction, which was complete in 516 BCE under Darius I. This fulfilled prophecies like those in Isaiah and is viewed as a partial redemption, though the full glory of the first temple was not restored. However, the bulk of the Davidic family and the broader Jewish community remained in Babylon, modern-day Iraq, where the exile continued for those who chose not to return, either due to established lives there or divine providence to maintain a strong diaspora center. The office of Exilarch, Resh Galuta, emerged from this context as the hereditary leadership role for Babylonian Jewry, tracing directly back to Jeconiah's line. Tradition often identifies Shealtiel or even Jeconiah himself as the inaugural exilarch, with the position combining political, judicial, and communal authority under Persian and later Sasanian, Arab, etc. rule. The exilarchs collected taxes, appointed judges, supervised markets, and represented Jews to foreign powers, holding semi-autonomous status for centuries until the office faded around the 10th to 11th century CE. Regarding whether your statement works within this framework, it aligns in broad strokes with the preservation and role of the Davidic family, but contains a key historical inaccuracy for the biblical timeline. Cyrus's edict, detailed in Ezra 1 and 2 Chronicles 36, enabled the initial return and temple rebuilding under leaders like Zerubbabel and Sheshbazzar, not Ezra. Ezra arrived decades later, around 458 BCE, during the reign of Artaxerxes I, with a mission focused on teaching Torah, enforcing Jewish law, and reforming practices among the returnees. The temple was already standing by then, though Ezra strengthened the community spiritually. Orthodox interpretation treats these events as distinct phases of the return from exile, not a single event tied to Cyrus and Ezra together. Okay. But when the Hasmoneans took over, they did not turn to the exilarch for a king. What does Orthodox Judaism say about why that is? The books of the Maccabees that are in the Christian, Jewish Bibles. Okay. In the Orthodox Jewish framework, which upholds the Torah's directives and prophetic ideals as interpreted through the sages, the Hasmonean Maccabean dynasty's assumption to kingship is viewed as a deviation from the divine mandate that the eternal monarchy belongs exclusively to the house of David, as established in prophecies like 2 Samuel 7 and Psalms 89. The Hasmoneans, being Kohanim, priests from the tribe of Levi, were commended for their initial zeal in purifying the temple and restoring Jewish sovereignty during the Seleucid persecution. But their decision to claim the throne themselves rather than seeking out a Davidic descendant, such as from the exilarch in Babylon, is critiqued as an overreach driven by human ambition. This combined the crowns of priesthood and kingship in a way that contravened the Torah's separation of roles. Numbers 18 for priesthood and Deuteronomy 17 for kingship, echoing the patriarchal blessings in Genesis 49, where kingship is allotted to Judah, David's tribe, not Levi. Rabbinic sources such as the Talmud, Horayot 11b, and Kiddushin 66a. Lucky, what are you doing? Lucky, come back here. I am going to have to find out what he was destroying later. Indicate that this usurpation led to divine punishment. The Hasmonean line was ultimately eradicated through internal strife, Roman intervention, and the rise of Herod, fulfilling a midrashic tradition that non-Davidic rulers would not endure permanently. The exilarch, as the recognized Davidic leader in the Babylonian exile, represented the preserved royal lineage, tracing back through Zerubbabel, but the Hasmoneans' independence in Judah and their focus on consolidating power locally meant they did not defer to the external authority, prioritizing their own priestly heroism over restoring the prophesied Davidic order. Regarding the books of Maccabees, primarily 1st and 2nd Maccabees, with 3 and 4 being less central, Orthodox Judaism does not include them in the Tanakh because they are generally not considered divinely inspired prophecy or part of the 24 canonical books finalized by the men of the Great Assembly around the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. These texts, originally composed in Greek or Hebrew, with 1st Maccabees possibly from a Hebrew original, emerged post-prophetically during the Second Temple era and were preserved primarily by Christian traditions, not transmitted through the Jewish Masoretic chain. While some content in 1 and 2nd Maccabees, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, I should try to be somewhat consistent, aligns with historical accounts of the Hannukah miracle and is deemed reliable for factual details, often more so than non-canonical works like Megillat Antiochus. They are treated as external historical literature rather than sacred scripture. Orthodox authorities permit studying them for educational purposes to understand the era, but they hold no halachic or theological authority, and elements in books like 4th Maccabees may even conflict with core Jewish teachings by incorporating Hellenistic philosophy. The primary sources for Hannukah in Orthodox tradition remain the Talmud, Shabbat 21b, and later commentaries emphasizing the oral miracle over the military narrative prominent in Maccabees. Is it possible that the Christian idea of Jesus as king and priest reflects the Christian community's origins and Maccabean supporters, as indicated by the large presence of Maccabean names like John, Matthew, Mary, etc. in early Christian I wrote communities wrong. It should have been community with apostrophe S. Okay, for those people who are sitting there listening to me talk to Grok, I am actually getting tired and thinking of going to bed. And I'm not sure this is actually useful to anybody. Spotting a key paper analyzing Christ as King. This is taking a long time. Well, as long as the owner of a large dog is listening, it's probably a good thing. Yes, it is plausible that the Christian portrayal of Jesus as both king, e.g., from the Davidic line, as in Matthew 1 and Luke 1, and high priest after the order of Melchizedek, as elaborated in Hebrews 5 through 7, draws influence from the Hasmonean Maccabean dynasty's historical precedent of combining these roles, which was a notable deviation in Second Temple Judaism. This could reflect early Christian communities' roots among Jewish groups sympathetic to or shaped by the Maccabean legacy, including supporters of their revolt against Seleucid oppression and subsequent rule. Scholarly analyses, such as comparative studies of Hasmonean governance and New Testament theology, highlight how the dynasty's dual role, where figures like John Hyrcanus and Alexander Jannaeus served as both high priests and kings, fostered messianic expectations for an ideal leader, uniting spiritual and royal power, especially amid the era's political instability and critiques of illegitimate succession. Texts from Qumran, such as the Melchizedek document and 11Q13, I'm going to have to look up 11Q13. Here, let's ask Grok. What is 11Q13? And we can go back and read while it tries to find that. Where were we? Further illustrate pre-Christian Jewish ideas of a heavenly priest king. A figure without traditional lineage, which parallels the epistle to the Hebrews depiction of Jesus as an eternal high priest offering a perfect sacrifice in a non-earthly tabernacle. Some theories even posit that gospel figures like John the Baptist represent composite reflections of Hasmonean leaders, symbolizing the decline of their political dynasty in favor of a spiritual kingdom embodied by Jesus, as seen in narratives like John 3:30, he must increase, but I must decrease. This aligns with Christianity's broader positive engagement with Maccabean history, including the New Testament's reference to Jesus observing Hannukah and the veneration of Maccabean martyrs as saints in Catholic and Eastern Orthodox traditions, with a feast day on August 1st, elements preserved more prominently in Christianity than in Rabbinic Judaism, possibly building on ancient Jewish traditions evidenced by 4th, 5th century. Play with your toys. Synagogue mosaics. However, the prevalence of names like John, Yohanan, Matthew, Mattityahu, and Mary, Miriam, in early Christian texts is weaker evidence for origins, specifically among Maccabean supporters. These were among the most common Jewish names in first century Judea and Galilee, as confirmed by literary, archaeological, and ossuary, those are bone boxes, Inscriptions from the period reflecting broader Hebrew, Aramaic, linguistic, and cultural norms rather than a deliberate nod to the Maccabees. For instance, Matityahu echoes the Maccabean patriarch, father of Judas Maccabeus, and Yohanan matches rulers like John Hyrcanus, but such names predate the dynasty. Miriam from the Exodus, I was thinking of Mariamne, but anyway, and were widespread during their meanings, due to their meanings, gift of God for Matityahu, God is gracious for Yohanan, and possibly bitter or beloved for Miriam. Without implying ideological allegiance, early Christian works use these names for apostles, disciples, and family members. Matthew the tax collector in Matthew 9:9, John the Baptist, Mary Magdalene. But this mirrors the demographic reality of Jewish society under Roman rule, not a unique Maccabean connection within the Orthodox Jewish framework, where the Hasmoneans are celebrated for the temple rededication, Hannukah, but critiqued for usurping the Davidic kingship and non-Tzadikite priesthood, leading to their downfall, as per Talmudic sources like Horayot 11b. The Christian development could be viewed as an extension of the same overreach, adapting Hasmonean innovations into a new theology that further diverges from Torah mandates separating tribal roles, kings from Judah, priests from Levi, Genesis 49, Deuteronomy 17 through 18. Nonetheless, the historical proximity, Hasmonean rule, ending circa 37 BCE, shortly before Jesus' era, and shared cultural milieu make the influence a reasonable scholarly hypothesis, though speculative and not universally accepted, with some viewing early Christianity as more aligned with Pharisaic or Essene critiques of Hasmonean corruption rather than direct support. 11Q13, also known as 11Q Melk, or the Melchizedek document, is a fragmentary Hebrew manuscript from the Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in Cave 11 at Qumran near the Dead Sea. It dates from around 100 BCE, the late Second Temple period, and belongs to the Qumran community's likely Essene literature. The scroll consists of about 13 fragments, with the most substantial surviving portion in column 2. The other columns are nearly unreadable. It is written in a Pesher style, form of biblical commentary where the author interprets scriptural verses as prophecies about end-time events. The text presents an eschatological end of days vision centered on a heavenly figure named Melchizedek, who is portrayed as a divine or angelic being. Key elements include Melchizedek acts as a heavenly judge and high priest who will proclaim liberty to captives, atone for the sins of the righteous, and execute judgment against Belial, a figure of evil often acquainted with Satan or the Prince of Darkness. He leads God's angels in a cosmic war against the forces of darkness. The text interprets verses from Leviticus 25, Deuteronomy 15, Isaiah 52:7, and 61, Good News to the Poor, and Psalms 82. Melchizedek is called Elohim, a divine title in some passages, such as identifying him as your Elohim, actually I should say, who saves the righteous from Belial's power. Scholars debate his exact nature. Most view him as an exalted angelic or divine intermediary, possibly akin to the archangel Michael, not a human. Some view him Some see parallels to messianic expectations. This depiction influenced later interpretations. The scroll provides insight into pre-Christian Jewish ideas about divine mediators, eschatology, and priestly kingship in Second Temple Judaism. The full text is preserved in the Israel Museum's Shrine of the Book, with high-resolution images available online through the Leon Levy Dead Sea Scrolls digital library. I mean, I guess we could take a look at it. Is this it? This is a translation. Wow. Not really seeing a lot that could possibly be read, but let's see. Yeah, I could never read this. There you go. 11Q13. Okay. Where were we? It's good ambiance. I'm not sure what you mean. What's good ambiance? Ow! Could you please stop biting me? Thank you. No. I didn't do it. Shh. I know you want to play. I should probably get going. It's interesting to hear a different perspective on this. What about the prophetic aspect that is attributed to Jesus? So I will tell you a joke that Pastor Tanner initially told me, which has become one of my favorite jokes, which is, there's a pastor who's teaching Sunday school, and he goes to the Sunday school, and he says to the class, what has 4 legs, stores nuts for the winter, and lives in a tree? And none of the kids are willing to answer. So he calls upon Johnny, and he says, Johnny, what has 4 legs, stores nuts for the winter, and lives in a tree? And Johnny says, well, it sounds a lot like a squirrel, but I'll say Jesus. And the fact is, Christians, like, everything's about Jesus. Everything's about Jesus. And so the more things are about Jesus, the less things are about Jesus. I should ask about John Walton. Okay, I am going to ask about John H. Walton, but then I am actually getting tired and I'm going to go back to bed. Who is John H. Walton? What does he have to do with all this? And ouch! Why is my friend RJ bringing him up? John H. Walton. Oh, is it not? Am I not showing you guys? I am not showing you guys. There we go. Is a prominent evangelical Old Testament scholar, professor emeritus of Old Testament at Wheaton College and Graduate School. Oh no, not an evangelical, where he taught for many years after a previous stint at Moody Bible Institute. Oy vey. He holds a PhD in Hebrew and Cognate Studies from Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion. Anybody who doesn't know, HUC is the Reform seminary. Walton specializes in the ancient Near East, a background of the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament. His work emphasizes interpreting biblical texts in their original cultural, literary, and conceptual context, comparing them to Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and other ANE literature while maintaining an evangelical commitment to Scripture's authority. He is best known for his Lost World series of books, which explore topics like Genesis creation, Lost World of Genesis 1, Adam and Eve, the Flood, the Torah, and prophecy. Other major works include Ancient Near Eastern Thought and the Old Testament, a key textbook on A&E conceptual world, and the IVP. What is IVP? Bible Background Commentary, Old Testament. He advocates reading the Bible for us, but not to us, meaning it was written to an ancient audience with their worldview in mind, not directly to modern readers. Blasphemy. This approach helps resolve apparent tensions between Genesis and science. False. By arguing that texts like Genesis 1 focus on functional creation, ordering the cosmos as a temple rather than material origins. I will tell you why I dislike this way of looking at it. It's for us and to all people at all times in all generations simultaneously, which is why it can be so cryptic. Regarding your conversation thread discussing Maccabees, etc., Walton likely comes up because his scholarship provides deep context on Second Temple Judaism and A&E ideas of divine intermediaries, kingship, priesthood, and eschatology. For instance, 11Q13 portrays Melchizedek as a heavenly judge and atoning figure. Walton's A&E expertise illuminates how ancient views of priest kings, common in the region, and divine mediators shaped biblical and extra-biblical texts, helping explain why early Christians drew on such ideas to describe Jesus as both king and high priest. Your friend RJ is probably bringing him up to highlight how understanding A&E backgrounds and Second Temple literature, like Qumran scrolls, enriches the discussion of Jesus' role as priest-king, bridging Jewish traditions with Christian theology. Walton's work is widely respected in evangelical circles for making ancient context accessible without compromising biblical faith. Okay. My Hannukah has burnt itself out. My tea is cold. And you guys seem to not be... There are 6 people watching. Why are there 6 people watching? Okay, people. I am going back to bed. It was nice meeting you. Let us end. I'm going to use host's prerogative to put the Reverend Parcells to bed because he does need to get up in the morning.
Sorry, Reverend. Thank you.
But before he goes, I have a question. Let's say, God forbid, that I were to burn somebody at the stake for not being a Trinitarian. And I did not repent of that. Is that a salvation issue?
Sometimes Jacob takes that devil's advocate thing too far.
There a proverb that says something like, don't answer a fool according to his folly. But there's a proverb that says, answer a fool according to his mouth.
There is.
Exactly right. And I'm going to leave it to you guys to determine, which of those was applicable in this situation as I go. So, but anyhow, good.
Thank
It was
you,
good
Reverend.
to
Thank
chat
you.
with you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
The